Happy Thursday. Well, we finally have power and internet so I can record a video. I'm actually at my parents' house waiting for insurance adjusters and other things after that storm went through on Monday. But I wanted to read from Genesis chapter 12, beginning of the story of God's relationship with the wandering Aramean, Abraham. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and the ones who curse you I will curse. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed." So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Abram took his wife Sarai and his brother's son Lot, and all the possessions that they had gathered, and the persons whom they had acquired in Haran, and they set forth to go to the land of Canaan. When they had come to the land of Canaan, Abram pressed through the land to the place at Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. At that time the Canaanites were in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built there an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. From there he moved on to the hill country on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord, and invoked the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed on by stages towards Negeb. Paul writes that Abraham wasn't such a great person, but because God called him in faith, he went. You know, sometimes changes can be hard. And at this time of year, we might be facing a lot of changes. I remember growing up from the age of 10 until finally at 19, my parents moved every 2 years. I had the challenge and the joy of going to 2 different junior highs and 3 different high schools, and 1 college in the Chicago area, and then out to Boone and college in Boone in 79. It was a journey, and it was not always easy, and it was sometimes hard. But whether I knew it or not, God was with me through all that journey. God is with us through all of our journeys, all of our challenges, all of our changes. Just as God was with Abraham. And Abram hasn't changed his name. God hasn't changed his name to Abraham yet, but Abram goes on this journey without any promise for himself. He goes on this journey for his descendants. This is the land I will give your descendants. You will be a blessing to all the nations. And that the land doesn't go to the descendants until Moses, till after Moses, till Joshua. Generations down the road. And salvation doesn't come, a blessing doesn't come to all the nations through Abram until we go through his family line to Jesus. But Abram went out in faith. Abram went out trusting God. That's what we're called to do in all the changes of our lives. Some of our children or some of us may be going off to college or to a new experience with a new job, or maybe just the changes of life in this world today with the pandemic and with the storms that we've had and with losing loved ones. We may feel alone. We may feel separated from our loved ones. Just think, Abraham, 75, left all of his family. Took only Lot and Sarah. But he left. Sometimes we have to leave to answer God's call too. Sometimes we have to isolate to protect ourselves and others. Sometimes we have to go through change. And we can do it begrudgingly and without joy. Or we can do it with hope and faith. Knowing that even in this, God will get us through. Just as God guided Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and Judah and all of the descendants through Christ and all the disciples since Christ to today, God has been with us. And God is faithful. And God is trustworthy. So no matter what your journey calls you to, no matter where God's calling you to be or what you're called to do, God will be with you. It may feel like at times that God's not there, that God's distant, but God is right there. Right beside you. I think of the old story, the old poem Footprints, where I came upon some sand with God, and there were two footprints, and I said, two sets of footprints. And I said, God, what is that? And God says, that's me walking beside you throughout your life. And then all of a sudden, there was only one set of footprints. And I said, God, what's that? And God says, that's where I carried you during those difficult times. And I like the addition that's been added. And then there's another set of footprints with two lines dragging behind it. And I said, God, what is that? And God says, well, that's when I had to drag you through an event. That's sometimes what it's like. Sometimes we walk with God. Sometimes we're carried by God. Sometimes God drags us through a situation just to get us through it. Abraham was far from perfect. He made many mistakes on his journey. So was Isaac and Jacob and Joseph and Judah and David and Solomon and all of those in that line, except for one. And that was Jesus. And that's where our hope is in his perfection, in his love, and his grace. So whether Christ is walking beside you, or holding you, or dragging you, God is with you every day through all the changes of our lives. And that's a true blessing. Amen.